You've come to the right place if you're looking to create, launch, and scale a high-value online training program. I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co-founder of Liftor LMS, the most powerful learning management system for WordPress. Stay to the end. I've got something special for you. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of LMScast. I'm joined by a special guest. His name is Marcus Carter. He's from carterschooloфenglish.com. He teaches English online. He's currently living in España. So welcome to the show, Marcus.
Thanks very much, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
I want to get into your story a little bit of, language learning online. There's all these niches, or as you say in Britain, I think niches of of online education. Language learning is huge. So take us, and I know that the pandemic and stuff changed things, but take us on your story arc as a teacher and language learning. How did you go from being a British guy to living in Spain and teaching English to Spanish speaking people?
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously, when I finished studying in the UK, I did some traveling, and basically Spain has always been a kind of holiday destination for the Brits, for most of my life when I was younger. And I thought that what better place to live than a place where you would go on holiday, So that's how I sort of started coming to Spain and met a few people here, and cut a long story short, met my wife, and the rest is history as far as living in Spain's concerned. And when I started my teaching career, I've been teaching in many different places. I've been teaching in schools, in language schools, in normal schools. I've taught all ages from 3-year-olds, which I love teaching, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, all the way up to 82, I think was my oldest student that I've had. And I've been an employee. I was an employee for the first few years of my career. And then I sort of branched out on my own and started opening up my own schools. And one of the biggest obstacles that I noticed in my profession was the way students learnt languages and the materials that we had available to teach students. So I started diving quite deep into different methodologies and how I could facilitate learning. My premise was always, how can I make this as easy and as quick as possible? Learning a language, especially like English, which is quite a difficult language to learn, especially for Spanish speakers. And so that sort of led me down quite a deep rabbit hole where I ended up writing my own method because I couldn't actually find the materials that I really wanted. I did franchise a method, but I couldn't find the best of both worlds that sort of fitted with the society in which I live. So I've written my own method, which goes from 0 all the way up to an advanced level. And that's what we use now online with our Zoom classes, my team of teachers and myself, to teach students. And I had 3 schools before the pandemic hit us. And obviously, we were all closed down, so we closed all the schools, but we continued literally immediately because I've always been quite a fanatic as far as technology is concerned, and I love tech. So I very quickly got some of the teachers who are sort of senior teachers, up to date with all the technology so that they could continue online, including using, these tablet things to write on and things like that, and using some kind of digital whiteboard. And we finally got it all together, started with Skype, then we changed over to Zoom. And that's where we are today, really. Shall I continue?
Well, yeah, that's good. A couple quick questions. So when they were in-person schools, how many teachers? It was more than just you. You had some teachers. Like, how big were these? Like, how many students? How many teachers? Kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we've had up to about 22, 23 teachers in total. That was when we were our biggest sort of time. I will say that before the pandemic, actually, there's more and more competition every day. It seems to be, it kind of became the business, like a fashionable business to open an English school, even if you knew nothing about English teaching. A lot of people were just opening English schools because it was quite a profitable business when there weren't many of us, and then there were more and more and more. And so you just had to keep working harder and harder on marketing. And I've worked very hard on SEO and all kinds of marketing techniques. I've tried them all, over the years. Not really had much luck with internet marketing at all, really, throughout, all the time that we've had the website. One of the problems I had is I used to have a different name when I was a franchise. So I was using the franchise's name, which I gave it to myself. I didn't have to. And I
Right.
popularized that name where I am. And then when I stopped working with the franchise, I lost all my rankings completely. I was on page one, and we were getting much more traffic. So that set me back sort of 5 or 6 pages. It's really difficult to get back up on Google. So I didn't have much luck with that. And yeah, so really, if you want me to sort of segue into how I got into Liftor LMS now, is this a good time?
Yeah, and I do want to at some point circle back to designing the Carter method, your own teaching method. But yeah, let's go into
Right.
the tech for a little bit of you talked about Skype and Zoom, what we call instructor-led training. Then
Mm.
where does WordPress and Lifter come into the picture of your tech stack here?
Yeah. Okay. So I've always wished, for years now, to have some kind of platform where my students can go online and find and do exercises and additional material and things. But I never had the technological know-how to really build that.
Like on
And
their own without an instructor, right? Is that what you mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
on their
basically
own
like a
time, passive.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. A login area where, where they could feel that they're sort of members of a place and they could go in and they could sort of find their own material. And even teachers could upload their own things, maybe during the Easter holidays and things to do activities for students to do. I've wanted that for years, really. But it was never a necessity before the pandemic. And so when the pandemic came in, obviously we were online, we started online. I lost all my traffic, obviously, because we used to have high street schools. So it was people walking through the door all the time. When you're online and you're not ranking well on Google, that doesn't really happen. And so I had to look for new ways of finding traffic. So I consider myself an expert in phonetics under the sort of umbrella of language teaching. It's always been something that I've been advocating in my methods that I've been teaching. So I started working on social networks. And I had never had any success with social networks before. I mean, I've had Instagram for years, and I've actually had times in my life where I've tried to push it a bit harder, and 200 people following me or 200 and something people. And actually my wife, she pushed me onto TikTok, and she said, try TikTok, try using that. And well, I'm up to nearly 500,000 followers now on TikTok.
Wow,
And
what kind of content are you putting on TikTok?
yeah,
Because I mean,
well,
most TikTok content is like 5 to 30 seconds. So what are you doing?
yeah, I'm actually going up. I'm using the new, well, not the new, but it's relatively new that they let you upload now 3-minute videos.
Okay.
And yeah, having quite a lot of success with those, the recent ones I've been uploading.
Are you
My
teaching a
quality's
phrase or what is it?
No, because basically, I mean, I know that, the golden rule of marketing is that you have to, strive to be different and, um, whatever, you can't be in the same category. You got to find your blue ocean. You can't be in the red ocean where and there's lots of English teachers, giving phrases and things like that. So what I specialized in many years ago was in phonetics. And I advocate that you really need to learn um, to pronounce like a native speaker to be able to understand the native speakers, because Spanish speakers, the problem they have is they find it very difficult to understand fast conversation in English. So I started publishing things that I have always encountered throughout my career that were difficult for students. I knew Spanish people, or Spanish speakers, because a lot of my followers are from South America, were having difficulties with. And a lot of those things were phonetics.
What's an
So I've tried.
example of a phonetic like thing you would put up to help people?
Yeah, well, maybe just the difference between can and can't, for example. That was one of my recent videos that I uploaded. And because the difference in phonetics, although they're written the same way, CAN and with a T on the end, I know that in the North America you'd say can't, but we say can, can't. It's a completely different phonetic sound that we use. And really native speakers, I can play tennis, I can't play tennis. I don't really pronounce the N or the T. It's just that long A that I use that a native speaker will understand and say that I cannot play tennis. So that would be, an example. And some difficult structures that are different in Spanish to English, things like that. And where I really, so I started taking off on this social media platform on TikTok, although it's a platform where it doesn't really matter how many followers you have. When you launch a new video, your followers don't necessarily see that video. It has to be spectacular content every time for it to go anywhere, for them to push it. Not like Instagram, where your followers are going to see your stories and they're going to see your posts. And so I was, which is good in some sense, because you strive to create new content all the time. And then I started going into live TikTok sessions, which really kind of opened my eyes to a new way of driving traffic and moving people to my website. And I created a Telegram group as well. There's over 6,000 people in the Telegram group now. And it's a place where, because from TikTok, I couldn't really speak to those 500,000 people and say, hey, I've got this course, why don't you try this? Or you do it live or you don't do it. And because my humble 26 years of experience, I'm quite comfortable in front of a camera speaking to, when I go live on TikTok, I've had my maximum's been 1,270 people
It's a lot of
watching me
people.
at the same time. That's a lot of people at the same time, because on Instagram, you're lucky if you get, even like the famous people, they get a couple of hundred people watching them at the same time most of the time. So I've got a normal sort of average of 500, 600, 700 people at the same time watching me. I know that most of them are not really interested in what I'm saying. They're just sort of flicking through, but there is a constant sort of fan base there. And I traffic those people to Telegram so that I can remarket them there, and to my website. And this is where I started with Liftor LMS and thinking of what can I do? How can I turn the website into some sort of platform where people could learn English with me? And a lot of people ask me for classes when you're quite popular on social media. Can you give classes? Obviously, you can't, because you've only got a certain amount of hours a day, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. I didn't have that many people asking for classes. But what I did is I started thinking, what could I digitalize and put onto a course? And the first thing that came to my mind was phonetics.
Is
Because
this are these free courses or paid courses?
no, they're paid courses. Yeah,
Okay.
I do. I have invested so much of my time, and I do invest so much of my time for free for people on, especially on the TikTok lives. I now do TikTok and Instagram at the same time live.
What tool do you
And
use for that?
yeah, well, the thing is, here in Spain, we can't get an RMTP code for TikTok.
Okay.
I know you can. I think you can in the States, but I can with Instagram. So I use OBS with Instagram, and what I'm trying to do now, and don't tell anybody about this, I know this is going to be broadcast, but is I'm trying to traffic people from TikTok to Instagram, being very careful, because TikTok detects when you move people from the lives. I'm sure they do, because they've punished me in the past. So you got
Okay.
to say it you got to be very subtle and say, hey, why don't you check out my Instagram when this finishes, and follow me? Because what I do is I'm using OBS software, which I suppose you're familiar with,
Hmm.
and I'm projecting semi-transparent things onto my live sessions, phonetic symbols and phrases in phonetics, so that people can see it, but they can't see it in TikTok. And what I do is I download the live show from Instagram, or I publish it on my feed on Instagram with those projections. So that is a reason why people who are on TikTok might want to go to my Instagram. And now, sort of every live show I'm doing, well, it's not a show, but every live lesson that I'm doing, which is about an hour long, I'm managing to move about between sort of 70, 80, 90, 100 people from TikTok to my Instagram account every time I do it. And I presume that they are sort of warm customers, people who are interested in what I'm doing. They're going there, they're following me, they're interested in learning English. Otherwise, they wouldn't go there. So, so that's how I'm generating traffic now to the website, because I'm then going from there. I'm also promoting every 5-10 minutes a new level test, which I have designed, and I've got on my website. Level testing is also something that students really like to do. They like to know how much English they know. And the level tests that are basically available online is just a kind of grammar test where it's just ABC, you know, see if you can fill in the blank. And it's not very trustworthy. It's not very, it's not very reliable, really, to tell you what level of English you have, because when I level test somebody through Zoom, it's always an oral test to see what you understand, and I get more and more difficult. So I've tried to change this to a test where people listen to things on the website, and I'm actually using Liftor LMS for them to register to get their data before they do that level test, as a way of just having, you know, their information so that I can remarket them. So that's a free test, and that's a good way for me at least to get people to go to the website and do the test. And when they finish the test, according to what score they have, they are sent to one page or another where there's a little video of me saying, right, this is your level of English, this is the course I recommend. And then we give them the calendar slot where they can reserve a free class, you know, with us, which is a one-to-one, you know, sort of Zoom group class.
So at this time, what percentage of the training is course based versus Zoom class based? Like self-study versus active kind of.
Right. At the moment, I would say most of it is sort of active courses at the moment, because my phonetics course is something that people don't really understand very well yet. Only the people that have done it love it. And but when you say to somebody, look, the problem with learning English, because here in Spain, for example, people learn English throughout their whole life and they're never satisfied, and they always want to know more, and they think it means that you've got to learn the most advanced vocabulary and grammar to get to the higher level, when really what you need to do is understand how we speak and just get that fluency. And so at the moment, I mean, I've literally only been doing this for the last few months. I've had quite a few students go through the course on the Liftor LMS plugin, and everybody loves it. What I'm doing now, since I acquired the Groups plugin, which for me was a massive game changer, because I have been working with companies for many, many years since I started my career here in Spain, teaching English to the employees. Most of them were company directors, and I realized, or something I could do, I could offer the different packages of licenses to companies and put them into this group package. And so that's where I am right now. I'm very, very heavily marketing companies, phoning all the dozens and dozens and dozens of contacts that I have already before I start cold calling, to offer them the phonetics course as either a complement to what they're already doing, or as a just a unique course that they can do at the moment. And what I'm doing, just so that I give you this is my marketing tactic at the moment. I phone the company, I speak to human resources, I say to them, look, I've got this course, this is something that you haven't seen before. It's something that I greatly recommend, and I would like to offer you a demonstration of this product. And they say, okay, yeah, that sounds okay. So I say, can I have your email? And I just take their email, and then I set up the group in the back end. I put the banner up, I put their logo in, I get it all from the internet, I rescale everything, I create their group, I open up 3 or 4 seats, and then I send them the link. I enable the link and I send them the link so that they can go straight in, they can register, and they can try the product. And that's basically what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, and having some success. Some companies are starting to go in, they're trying the product. This takes time, I know, but I think that one of the major outlets for my course is going to be with companies, because, well, one of the companies has already bought the large, what I call unlimited licenses. So they have lifetime access and unlimited licenses. When they need more, I just open up new seats for them.
That is cool. And so Lifter
Mm.
LMS Groups allows you to kind of get a leader at the organization in, and then they can have a certain number of seats. You guys work out a price for their license. You have this big unlimited license.
Yeah,
Is it fair to say that just from a business standpoint, from a revenue perspective, there's like these two different markets. There's the individual learner and then there's the company. Like
exactly.
going after companies doesn't mean you have to abandon individual learners, but there's a lot of
No.
revenue potential there, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like the long tail, isn't it, that they call,
Yeah.
where you've got, you can have hundreds of thousands of individual learners. And it's something that I totally agree on that. And I'm going to start a new campaign, I think next week, I'll be starting, just for individual learners to get them onto the platform. I have had quite a few individual learners go through, and every time they go through, I create a little group. I did the first course I ever did. I created a little Telegram group, and I was giving them a class on Saturday as well as doing the course. And they all loved that because we all got together and we could speak about things. Because obviously, what I find in language learning, I'm fighting against a divided society where people want to be face to face with their teachers, because they think that you can't learn English if you're not face to face. And also, how can I sell a course that they don't interact with really? So I'm fighting against those two great sort of obstacles in my business at the moment. So the first thing I decided to do was, I mean, we've had enormous success with our students this year as far as passing official exams, more than any other year this year, actually. I really do think, because a lot of parents says, oh, I don't think my child really concentrates as well when they're online as when they're in the academy. And I'm thinking to myself, but do you know what your child was actually doing when he was in the school? He was in the academy. You don't know that. You can see him now, but maybe he was worse when he was in the academy. Now he's calmer. So, so what I'm doing with the digital course is turn it into something more and more interactive, because I have been a consumer personally of digital courses myself, and I really like them because you can go back to them. If you go to a school for a couple of hours a week for English lessons, you've got 2 or 3 hours a week, and then it's up to you to open your book and see what you can do between now and the next lesson. Whereas with the digital courses, you can go back to that same lesson over and over again, and it's the same one, and you can learn that concept well. So that's one of the great advantages of the digital course. And with language learning, obviously, all the courses I've done, it wasn't really necessary. They were sort of personal growth and those things. It wasn't really necessary for me to interact with that person who was speaking to me. But language learning, there has to be some kind of interaction or something from the student. So that was my massive learning curve over the last few months, of how to create a course where people could actually, which was more interactive than just a video and a PDF or something underneath it.
So
And
how'd you do
so,
that?
right, so this is where it gets a bit more complicated. So I've been sort of bouncing around um, what they call interactive video creating programs or software. And I
Like
started with,
H5P or what?
don't know that one, but Camtasia. Have you heard of
Okay.
that one?
Yep.
Right. I was on Camtasia for a while, but basically the only interaction that you have is you can bring up a little quiz in the middle of the or wherever you want, or you can move the playhead. They can click on something and the playhead moves, but it was quite limited until I discovered Adobe Captivate,
Okay.
and that's the game changer.
Okay.
Total game changer. I
For
mean, it's
interactive content.
yeah, but I mean, it's just, and it's really complicated. It's a really complicated program. I mean, I do everything. I am the illustrator. I'm the graphic designer. I'm the sound technician. I'm the video editor. I do everything myself. That was something that I was talking to your colleague Will about. Saying that we're in a time where, you might be a yoga teacher and you've got Liftor LMS and you've got your little yoga website, and you want to do a course or something like that. We don't necessarily have the means to pay graphic designers and video editors and sound technicians. We have to learn most of these things ourselves. And I consider
So
myself,
quick clarifying question there. So you have other teachers that work with you, but in terms of running the school and the online version of that, you do everything by yourself. Is that correct?
yes, yes.
Wow,
My son
that's
helps me
impressive.
with, Yeah, he helps me with the website, the design of the website, and things like that. And but he's not a professional either. That's just he just helps me with that to take some of the load off. But all the content creation, he helped me with the editing of some of the videos in Premiere too. Um, I do it all myself, you know, including the recording and the lighting, yeah, everything. So so that's pretty you know. And one thing I'm very adamant about is quality. I like to deliver good quality audio, good quality, something that's visually pleasing to look at. And, you know, when you're on the website, that everything looks good and sounds good. I don't like shabby things. So I spend a lot of time on all the little details. And so when I got to Adobe Captivate, this program I'm very familiar with, Illustrator, Premiere, Photoshop, all of those programs, Audition, because that's what I've been using for years. But Adobe Captivate, although it says Adobe, it used to belong to other companies previously. And it doesn't really look like an Adobe program, and it definitely doesn't behave like the Adobe programs. So luckily, I did find one person in particular who's got lots of tutorials on YouTube, and he's very helpful too. You can sort of ask him questions, and he's got me out of some sticky situations with the interactive videos. But basically, I've ended up now, and I'm just finishing the course. My course has 12 lessons. I'm on lesson 11 and then 12 to finish the interaction with the videos, going back through them right the way from the beginning and redoing all of them, making them all interactive.
Oh,
And
this is an important point I just wanted to highlight is, I
mm,
mean, sometimes when you launch a course, that's not the finish line, that's the starting line. So you're actually revisiting your original video course and making it better by making interactive lessons. So it's like
well,
another version, right?
totally, totally. In
Yeah.
fact, I call it Pro Speech 2.0. This is the second
Yeah.
version. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I agree with you. And this is probably the third or fourth time I've gone back to the beginning of the course and I've started revamping
Nice.
and redoing it. And, you know, my wife keeps saying, stop going back over the course, you know, and sell it more, you know, but I can't, because when you discover something new in the technology, you think, wow, I can put that into the course and then go back to the beginning, you know, and as I say, 12 lessons, it might not sound like much, but, you know, there are hundreds of hours that I've put into that course, literally sitting on this chair. And,
So
Captain,
approximately how
mm,
many hours, like people ask this question, and it's really a it depends question, which is how long should my course be? But how long is your 12 lesson course in total, more
yeah.
or less?
It's a very difficult question to answer because one of the things that I do when I sell the course to the companies, here in Spain, we have what's called Funday. Funday is like they give you a subvention. They give money to companies. Well, they don't give money actually from your social security payments that you pay. A little
Mhm.
bit of that money goes for training that the company can then reinvest in the employees. And so it can be language courses or whatever. So anything that you do has to be within the guidelines of Funday. And so one of the things they ask you is, how long does it take to do your course? Because they pay per hour
Mm.
to the students. And it was really difficult for me to think, right, well, the video lasts 20 minutes. And then underneath that, and then there's some exercises within the video because there's actually I've got this interactive video, so maybe 20 minutes, let's add on another 20 minutes, about 40 minutes of video. Then I've got all my audio exercises, then I've got my own evaluations, then I've got the Liftor LMS evaluations. And I thought, well, I could probably do that in about an hour and a half. But then I think students won't have learned everything in an hour and a half. You've got to go back over that and revise that. So I find that's a difficult question to answer actually, and I don't really have a straight answer. I don't have a little formula to calculate how long it'll take. But for example, in the Chamber of Commerce, they've just accepted my course here in where I live, in the region where I live, and they said to me the course has to be a minimum of 50 hours, and I said, that's it. Don't worry, it's 50 hours. I just said it's 10 lessons. I said 5 hours each, 12 lessons, 4.5 hours each lesson, and that's it, you know. So, and they said, well, how do they do that? I said, well, they got a week, you know, they go through the lesson and they revise it and they revise it, and there's things to read and things. And so, yeah, it's a difficult thing to sort of say that. And people want to know. It's one of the questions. People say, how long does it take to do the course? And I had it on drip content, my course. I thought, right, there's a lot of information. I'm going to release a lesson per week. And then a lot of people were saying to me, I want to do it faster.
Yeah.
So since I've been doing all the interactions, I've now released the first 10 lessons. 11 and 12 will be released very, very shortly this weekend. So that I've taken off the drip content so people can do it at their own pace.
Do you do the prerequisite so they have to do it in order, or do you not have that set?
I don't know if I have that active. Yeah, they have to. No, maybe they don't have to do it in order. I didn't actually think about that. I'm not familiar with that little part of the course. Yeah, to actually establish that.
What
But I think
about
they do it in order.
what about getting the Captivate content into the WordPress site, into the Lifter LMS lessons? How do you do that? What tools do you
Right.
use, or was that
Well,
hard to figure out? Because we get asked that
yeah,
question all the time. I'm just curious how you solved it.
yeah. I mean, everything has been really hard for me to figure out because,
Yeah.
I'm not I'm an expert in any of this, and everything is whatever I need to do. I'm on YouTube and I'm looking for things, and I spend hours on YouTube, like listening to people. Anyway, I discovered a hosting service for a fast hosting service called Bunny, like, a bunny
Yeah.
rabbit, bunny.net. And it seems to be very, very good and very, very cheap. And
And
they
that
also
can
have,
hold Captivate content in Bunny.
well, yeah, Captivate content at the end of the day is just HTML5.
Okay.
So yeah, so when I first did my course, everything was on YouTube, and it was
Yeah.
obviously on hidden on YouTube, and I was just streaming sort of from YouTube. But then people started saying to me, people can pirate that and download your videos and things, and it looks horrible at the end because you get they're
Just
offering you videos of
recommended your
different people.
competition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and so when I discovered that this was going to be HTML5, I thought, right, you can't host interactive videos on YouTube. So that
Right.
forced me to look for something else. And I have my hosting service for my website, but bunny.net covered all those bases much better than anywhere else. And it's a very fast hosting service, super cheap, and I'm really happy with it. All I do is I just have it hosted there. And on the course, on my Liftor LMS course, I just put an iframe at the top, and I just put the URL into that iframe, and there it is. There's the video.
So on the WordPress site, you're basically on a lesson, you're just embedding an iframe that you get from Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
And then how
That's
do
it.
you get, and then when you use Captivate to create the interactive video, do you upload that to Bunny?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
So
how you said
Captivate.
YouTube
Yeah.
as a tool to figure things out. I mean, that's where you go. Like I see the people that are the most successful is they don't have all the answers, but they know how to search for answers, and they're not afraid of spending a little bit of research time, like, or reaching out to experts on YouTube is definitely a place to learn for sure.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely. I agree with you.
while we're in the tech, why WordPress and why did you end up with Lifter LMS, or how did that
Yeah.
happen?
Okay. Why
Were you always
WordPress?
running your site on WordPress, like a marketing site kind
Yes.
of thing? Yeah.
Yeah, really, I don't even know what alternatives there are.
Yeah.
I don't know any other way of doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my brother-in-law is an IT engineer, and he's got his website, and it's on. He lives from his website. He sells software from his website, and he's got it on WordPress. So that was a sort of logical place to go. And as I say, I didn't know any other way of doing it. That was the only thing. Everybody said, "Oh, everybody's on WordPress, so let's do that." And sorry, and so Lifter LMS, I started. I mean, I don't want to sort of, um, disparage any other kind of plugin or anything, but I started with this other kind of membership plugin, and it was really, really complicated, difficult process. People couldn't log in. It was just a really difficult thing to do, and it visually, it was very. I was very unhappy with it. I did have somebody who was helping me at that time with that plugin, and he was sort of being a bit of my community manager with social media and helping me with things like that at the same time. And he was the one that installed that plugin, and we were using that for some time at the beginning, but it wasn't an LMS. It was just a membership plugin that we were using, and I was very unhappy with it because I can't stand it when people come back to me saying, "Oh, we're having problems logging in." When there
Yeah.
are tech problems for something that you know you've been working so hard on a course and you've got everything ready, and then there are other things that they're silly things that they can't overcome to get onto the course. So literally, I will say that on YouTube, I saw this guy and he said, you know, how to set up an LMS, I don't know, in an hour or something like that, or two. It was a long tutorial and he was
Yeah.
really good, this guy. I think he was Danish or Swedish or something like that. I can't remember. I
It
can
might
tell you
be
anything.
Ferdy
That's the
Copenshake or
guy.
something. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're paying him or whatever, but
I'm
he did
not.
a really,
He makes great WordPress tutorials. So
yeah, he was the one. And I thought, well, I didn't even know what LMS, you know, this is the thing, you know, there's so many
yeah,
things that I didn't even know that existed, LMS,
as a
until I
category
discovered
of
as a
software.
category of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
to put onto the website. And I thought that's just what I needed, you know, and so that's how I sort of stumbled across Liftor LMS. And I followed his tutorial. I installed everything. I had to basically extract the course from where I had it before and put it into Liftor LMS. I redid lots of things. This was another one of the times when I went back to the beginning. I doubled my audios and different things like that, and took quite a long time. Took me about a month to get it back up to scratch again on the website, and then it went from there. You know, and then I went to the bundle. Is it the Universe bundle? I think it was. You know, when so I could get the payment gateway, and then groups, and that's where I am. Yeah, really. Now.
That's awesome. Um, do you well, I guess you mentioned earlier Telegram as a tool you use. I know people are pretty familiar with social media, like TikTok and Facebook and whatnot, YouTube. But what about Telegram? Can you just, for the layman who hasn't of it before, explain what it is and how you use that in your tech stack?
Yeah. So Telegram began at the same time as WhatsApp. I don't know if it was a bit before or a bit afterwards. And it was like, I don't know if you remember Beta and VHS when the two, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm nearly 50 now. So yeah, there was a little war to see who was going to win. And so WhatsApp were the winners there, but people were using Telegram many years ago. And I hadn't heard about it for a long time until this community guy that was working with me said, hey, why don't we set up a Telegram group and get channel people from the live sessions into the Telegram group? So Telegram is basically very similar to WhatsApp as far as groups is concerned. The difference is that WhatsApp, you can put 250 people into a group, and Telegram, you can put 200,000 people into a group. And yeah, so basically it's just an instant messaging service, but it does have, for example, really cool emojis. Not that that's really interesting for me, but a lot of people like that. It's much better than WhatsApp in that sense. And you can now do kind of calls. You can do a voice call to everybody in the group.
Kind of like a
I haven't tried this.
webinar kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like a
Yeah.
little webinar in Telegram, which is pretty amazing. I haven't tried that yet. But I will say at the same time that although I have 6,000 people in the group, a lot of people sort of fall into the Telegram, and then I think they sort of forget about it, because I've fallen into groups myself and don't really listen to much about what they're saying there, because it tends to be just publicity.
So it's kind of
So
like a email list for text messaging and phone kind of thing.
yeah, that's right. The only thing is you don't get the people's information in Telegram. They're just there, you know. So you can publish things. The good thing about Telegram is you've got a channel, and you've
Yeah.
got what I call it my tribe, but it's I don't know what it's called, the group or something like that. So in the channel, if you want, you can open a channel, and if you've got interesting content, you know, with value that you're adding to people, you can create the channel. Everybody's in the channel. The only person that can speak is you, and publish is you. And if at the same time you want people to comment on what you're doing, you open up the group as well. And people can be in both places where they see what you're publishing, and they can comment in the other side. And if people are not interested in the comments, they just stay in the channel and just watch what you're publishing. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Um,
Mm.
I got a bunch of, like, they're going to sound random questions, but there's like a framework that I use that you got to wear all these different hats to be successful with these kind of projects. If we put
Mm.
on like the marketing and sales hat, one of the things we need to understand is motivation. Why do Spanish speakers want to learn English? And I know you serve a bunch of different markets and target customers, but what is the main driver and motivation behind the people that buy your programs?
Yeah, well, basically, I would say not only Spanish people, but also, you know, South America too. The main motivator is that everybody knows now that if you don't speak English, your life is pretty limited. to, you know, to your little nation or to your little town or your region or whatever. You can't really go. I mean, if you want to learn anything on YouTube, you're obviously there's a lot of content in Spanish, but you know, the vast majority is in English. The vast majority, you know, English films, whatever. If you want to travel wherever you want to work in Spain now, you know, the first thing I got a call the other day from one of the companies I used to teach at, and they said to me, look, we want a salesman who's going to have a very good job, but the only requirements is he has to be trilingual: English, Spanish, and French. Those three languages. We're not looking for university degrees or anything like that, or college degrees or whatever. And so languages are, you know, knowing English here in Spain, it's like the eternal subject of the Spanish speakers, because it's never been taught very well in schools. It's always been like a couple of hours a week, that'll do. Not with a very good methodology. You know, 30 kids in the class, it's difficult to teach a language. You can't treat language learning like maths, because I was saying you have to interact. You know, with
Mhm.
maths, you can passively watch a whiteboard, see what he's doing, calculate it, and, you know, hand your homework in or whatever. But language learning is different. You know, it's a communication tool that we humans have converted into an academic subject, well, because we've studied it and all the biomechanics of language learning. But really, it's just a tool to communicate with other people, and to do that, you know, you have to interact and you have to listen. And so that's a long answer to your question.
Oh,
That's
that's
essentially,
good.
yeah, yeah.
So it's
Hopefully,
like it opens up opportunity, a lot of different
yeah.
types of opportunity. What about the friction point of, you mentioned that some of your learners are children, kids.
Mm,
So how do you solve that technically, or in terms of making the sale or whatever? And I mean, I know in different countries there's different laws and minors. And does the kid have an email address? Does the parent need to be in the loop or not? It's just another customer. It doesn't matter how old they are. Like what
mm.
has been your experience around serving kids with an online education company?
Yeah. Okay. So we have an enrollment form online. So when parents come in and they want to enroll their children onto one of our courses, our live courses, then they have to abide by, you know, what they said, and they have to check off the um, the regulations that we stipulate, and say that, you know, because we record all our classes as well. It's one of the advantages, is that all the classes are recorded so that parents can see them if they want to, children can revise them if they want to, or if anything happens, we have a recording of those classes. So we obviously have to have permission from parents to record the classes as well. And so basically, as they enroll, they have to agree to those terms and tick all the boxes. That's the way we do it.
That's cool. Um,
Mhm.
what about you mentioned creating your own instructional method. It's called the Carter method. And one of the things
Mm.
we have to do as education entrepreneurs is, you know, we have to be an expert and we have to be a teacher. And you were saying that the traditional methodology just wasn't working for you. So you kind of went back to first principles and built your own. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what you discovered creating your own method, and if somebody else is thinking about really going back to the roots and building up a better way of teaching a subject, give us some advice around that.
Yeah. Okay. So I was obviously, when I was first teaching, I was using materials that were famous materials: University Press and Cambridge University Press and those kind of things. But I noticed that I was bored. I was bored teaching those materials. I was thinking, this is not fun to teach. And I was thinking, if it's not fun to teach, it's not fun to learn either. And as you're saying, you know, teachers, educators, and things. I mean, I've had nearly 200 teachers go through my schools, when we counted them just recently. And when I probably interviewed almost all of them myself personally. You know, what I look for in a teacher, the last thing I look for is, you know, do you know, I mean, obviously you have to be a teacher, obviously, but what I want to see is, are you a performer? Are you an actor? Are you a clown? Are you a funny, smiley kind of person? You have to, motivation is like the number one driver for any human being to do anything, really. We need to have some kind of motivation. And so I thought, the only way people can be motivated is if they feel that they are progressing That's one of the best motivators, you know, the quicker they progress. And as I said at the beginning, my idea is to make this as easy and as quick as possible for students to learn the language. Maybe, you know, I've heard things from other schools that say, no, they keep you there for years before they do the exam, you know, to keep you hanging on. I did the opposite. I thought, I'm going to teach you as quickly as possible. I prefer to have a reputation for being a fast, you know, place where you learn quickly and you get out. And then more students come in because of that reputation. So with language learning, obviously, there has to be an interaction, much more interaction. So I know that, you know, language has 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Those are the 4 skills. And most of the materials that are available are focused on, you know, teaching larger groups where it's reading and writing, a little bit of listening, a bit of speaking. I thought, no, this has got to be the opposite. And this has to be in the order of a child. When a child is learning, the child starts listening to things without really understanding, doesn't have a second language to sort of translate to, just has to decode these things that you're saying. And after that, they start speaking, which is the second step. And then the third step, when they go to primary school, they would start reading, and then finally start writing. So I developed a method where first students listen to the vocabulary that we're going to be using, and I put that vocabulary into context and explain it to them, and then they use that vocabulary with me, with the questions that I ask them. So they are actually using the language immediately, even if they've never spoken English before and it's their first class. They're immediately speaking in the first class with the teacher, and that way they progress. I mean, so many times people have said to me, you know, I've tried learning English so many times, but this is the first time I've actually felt that I'm actually progressing and I'm actually getting somewhere, because they're using the language from day one, and they're breaking all those stigmas and barriers of, oh, I get embarrassed when I speak English, or I'm going to go red, or I'm going to make a mistake. That doesn't matter, because you're just continuously speaking in our classes. So we're focused on oral interaction really with the teacher, and reading and writing is like the least important thing on our agenda, although it is included, because, you know, they have to pass exams a lot of the time and things like that. But that's, you know, 90% of our class is based on speaking. And that's much more enjoyable than reading or writing, and it's more fun. And with that way, the teacher can put his personality into the class as well. And that makes it more fun for students.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, 2 more questions for you. One, if somebody's listening and they're thinking about choosing Liftor LMS for the online course part of their LMS, the learning management system website, what advice do you have for them about that?
Yeah, well, I definitely recommend it. Absolutely. I mean, my experience until now is very, very good. I'd especially like to give a shout out to your support team as well. They're great as well. You know, I keep, you know, get messages really quickly back from them for all the things that I don't understand, and they always help me. And especially, you know, when you get a new plugin and things like that, you get you can have these weekly calls and things, and it's really good support. So in that sense, for me, that's really important. And I imagine that a lot of the people who are putting Liftor LMS plugins onto their websites when they're not particularly tech savvy. I don't think so. So, you know, it's really important to have that support. So that's one thing that I would definitely say in your favor. One of the things that I would say maybe I haven't done as well as I should have in my course is sort of plan the course out from beginning to the end. I'm quite a spontaneous kind of person. So even my videos, you know, my son said to me, you know, because I now have a teleprompter, but I didn't have one before. It was all sort of like off the cuff, you know, talking into and my son was having a lot of trouble with the editing because I was, you know, talking about things and going off at tangents and things like that. So definitely, you know, people talk about storyboards and things like that for your videos, and having a real good idea of how you're going to lay your course out from the beginning to the end is a good idea. I mean, I had an idea, and I do a lot of things sort of off the cuff anyway. You know, when I'm live, you know, sometimes I don't prepare the live sessions. I just go on and see what happens, and, you know, I end up, you know, doing all sorts of different things. But definitely a lot of planning, and working out how you're going to get your traffic to your website. I mean, that's the big deal. That's the big thing. And if you know how to do that, to get warm traffic to your website, well then, you know, you have the golden nugget, basically. That's the thing. And the only way that I've seen personally, you know, to do this, if you want to do it on a very low budget, is through social media. And if you are an educator and you have the capability to make a course and you've got the knowledge that you think you can sell to people, then use that knowledge on social media. Not all of it, obviously, because when they do the course, they're going to get a lot more things and it's a lot more detailed, but give a lot of value on social media of the contents of your course, snippets, bits and pieces, things people can take away. And definitely, I talk about the big A, you know, is it applicable? Whatever, you know, whenever I publish something on social media, I think, can you apply what I just published to your life today? And it will make a small difference in your life. And, you know, maybe can and can't, you'll start understanding the difference because of that. That for me is the big, sort of the big difference between having success on social media or not having success on social media is the value that you're giving. And a lot of people think, well, I don't want to give away too much for free, you know, or, you know, how do I monetize this? And, you know, but I haven't found another way of doing it. So I think that's what I would recommend, is to have a good fan base on social media and plan your course well. And so you don't have to go over it 4 or 5 times like me. Going back for the beginning, I mean, if you're going to use something like interactive videos, if you want to blow the learners away, start looking at something like that, because that makes a massive difference. And I'll tell you, I've only just started scratching the surface, and my interactive videos, you know, the students they've already got in the courses, they obviously have the new interactive videos because I don't charge more for that. It's the same course. They love it, and it's something that they've never seen before. I mean, I had never seen an interactive video where I could, you know, click on things on the screen and sounds would come up, and, you know, I could change the state of an object when you click on it and it changes to something else. It opens up a massive world of creativity for educators online. And there's just one little section, that another thing that I'm sort of stuck with, which is in the interactive video, you can run a JavaScript. And well, then you just have a massive world of what you can do. You can imagine that when you click on a button, a JavaScript runs on the interactive video or an HTML. You can imagine what you can do there. The possibilities are endless. So we are, you know, the teachers who are in this world now, on these online education and these digital courses, we are now entering a new realm as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, virtual reality, that's going to be something to look into. And, you know, with workspaces or whatever that Mark Zuckerberg is talking about, those kind of things are interesting, of course. But for the time being, I would say my recommendation, look into interactive videos.
That is super cool. Super cool. And I like how you mentioned don't be shy of giving away things for free. You mentioned earlier using the Liftor LMS Groups add-on, and instead of doing this hard sell to a company, you actually go ahead and set up the group. You invite the key person at the company in and give them 4 seats to just try it out. Now the sale is not so hard. It's like, check it out. If you like it, let's work out a deal and do a lot more seats. It's pretty
Exactly.
straightforward. I love that idea.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I don't even have, it's not even a demo version of the course. It's the course.
It's the real
You know, so
thing.
it's the real thing. They can flick through the lessons and things like that. I mean, obviously, I'll be calling them back, you know, after a week or 2 weeks and saying, how are you doing? You know, they say, oh, we haven't had time yet. Because obviously I can see when they've gone into the course through groups. I can see if they're there and how long
Yeah.
they've been there. So, you know, I will be calling them back. And obviously if they're not interested, then I'll just remove them from the plugin. But it's an easy way to, you know, we have to have some Vaseline nowadays to help these sales go a bit more smoothly, make it easy for people.
All right. And last question, what's one tip you have for somebody who's thinking of teaching English as a second language, and they're just getting started on this journey? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what advice do you have for them on day one?
Right, I would say learn phonetics. If you want to distinguish yourself from other teachers, learn phonetics, and you will see English from a different perspective. You will be able to teach English from a different perspective. You will be able to surprise students with and help people who have problems understanding and speaking the language, not because, I mean, people study English for their whole life, and then I level test them and ask them a few questions and they don't understand. But if I show them the questions I'm asking, they do understand. So there's a massive difference between understanding the written word and understanding the oral word. And you can help students through phonetics overcome that difference and balance it out. So it would be a massive asset to your toolbox if you learn phonetics. And a lot of people shy away from it. Most people do because it's not easy. But YouTube's full of teachers. So
That's awesome. That's Marcus Carter. He's at carterschooloфenglish.com. Go check it out. Marcus, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for being a shining example of what we call an education entrepreneur, who's, helping improve the lives of others, really open up that opportunity using the vehicle of language. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing so much wisdom with the listener today. I appreciate it.
it's my pleasure. Thank you, Chris, for inviting me.
And that's a wrap for this episode of LMScast. Did you enjoy that episode? Tell your friends and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I've got a gift for you over at LifterLMS.com/gift. Go to LifterLMS.com/gift. Keep learning, keep taking action, and I'll see you in the next episode.